Welcome to the Recruitment Leadership Podcast, hosted by Alison Humphries. The Recruitment Leadership Podcast is here to help those in the recruitment industry gain awareness and understanding on the hot topics faced by those in the business of hiring people. In each episode, Alison Humphries is joined by a fellow expert to offer professional knowledge, insight and advice on the biggest subjects affecting recruitment businesses. It's the podcast to listen to for recruitment business frontrunners seeking expert information from industry-leading advisors. Welcome to the Recruitment Leadership Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Recruitment Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Alison Humphries. I'm a board advisor and executive coach to the recruitment sector for in excess of 40 years now. And today I'm very pleased to be joined by my first guest of 2026, Nitin Sharma. Nitin is the founder of Rectools, also associated with the Recruitment Curry Club. Nitin, you've had an interesting journey through the recruitment industry and elsewhere. Why don't you just talk us through how you got to where you're at today?
And what I'm doing now. Yeah, no, appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me. So yeah, I'm Nitin. I have been running Rectools since around sort of 2020, 2019. I've been running the recruitment industry's leading podcast, Rec Talk, for now officially 3 years, the last 2 years on my own. So my backstory is that I ran a recruitment business. I started with a business partner that I used to work with. We grew it, scaled it, ultimately failed it, made a lot of mistakes along the way. And so the business came to an end in December 2023. And during that time, we had started this concept and this side project called Rectools. And the idea was that, hey, you know, as recruitment business owners, when we want to buy new tech or when we want to buy new services, be it a website or somebody to look after our marketing or timesheet software, it's really hard to find suppliers because they're all in their own different little groups. And at the time, one of the mistakes we made was we didn't really join any communities. So we weren't part of TRM, we weren't part of Team, we weren't part of, you know, going to Rec Connect events, we weren't going to on-Rec award ceremonies and putting ourselves out there because arrogance more than anything. You know, we know it all. We don't want to sit with a bunch of our competitors. Big mistake. And so at the time, these guys do incredible things that we just didn't know about. So we set up Rectools as a whole of market directory. You know, doesn't matter what you're looking for, from new CRMs all the way through to umbrella companies. You come, you have a look, you find them, and then you can go on from there. So the recruitment business failed in 2023. I'm sat looking at my empty office and former podcast studio thinking, what am I going to do? And so decided that actually maybe my calling isn't to do recruitment, but to support business owners like me through this challenging journey of, you know, geopolitical climate, tough economic climate. Here's a load of mistakes that we made. Don't make those. And here's how to find good people, really good suppliers. And so I kind of went all in on the Rectools and Rec Talk podcast, used the podcast as a way of boosting my own personal brand in the industry, whilst also meeting with as many good like-minded people so that I can kind of build almost an armory of here's the people that I recommend that you should be working with. Because actually, if I knew even half of what I know now, my recruitment business wouldn't have failed and I wouldn't have put good people out of work during a pretty tough Christmas. And that kind of is where we are now.
Thank you. That is really helpful. Can I just say that you start by explaining that you had a business that failed. What sector was it and what size did it reach?
We started with accountancy and finance. We then became generalists because our clients started giving us more work to look at and we were like, yep, we can do that. At our peak, we had 15 heads. We were covering digital, tech, we did a bit of engineering, a bit of project engineering, still accountancy and finance. We set up a practice desk and then we had a bunch of temps out in warehouse and we spread ourselves far too thin. We basically kept saying yes to everything, tried to formalize it, but when you get to that point, as I'm sure you've seen many, many times over, you know, the fee becomes more important than your values and your culture and your kind of mission because, you know, you've got to keep the bills paid and you've got to keep the staff paid and you've got to keep the, you know, kind of keep the bad stuff away. And I always say that we went from kind of cream of the crop, picking and choosing the work that we were doing to picking up, sort of low-hanging fruit, but then eventually we were just picking up rotten fruit off the floor and calling it a fee. This is passable.
Right.
It's fine. The invoice finance company can worry about these guys not paying, that kind of thing. So a lot of bad behavior, a lot of mistakes, as I said, but
Right.
everything is trackable back to here's the decision and here's the outcome of that decision, which
Okay.
makes for interesting conversations when you're
It
sitting with
does. So
people within the tech
important to
space and
reflect.
people within business consultancy to go, actually, yeah, we did that and that was a stupid idea.
And there are lots of previous podcast episodes where listeners can tune in to hear other people talk about the challenges of diversifying, and me talking about how you can make it work. But, I said it in my book, the essence of strategy is knowing what not to do,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not just about values and culture. Not that that's not important. It is also about your messaging to the market
Yeah.
and how your brand is perceived, isn't it? So there are ways of doing it, but let's not go into that today. What I really wanted to draw out from that is
Mm.
that, look, let's not deny it. 2025 has been another tough year for most people in the recruitment industry, certainly in the UK. And we've just turned the corner into 2026. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Nitin, ask you for your predictions for the recruitment sector 2026.
That's a loaded question, but I think, generally speaking, sort of top of, if I was to give headline points, I think this year is going to be the year that you either change what you have been doing or fail. I think that for a lot of businesses, especially the ones that I'm talking to, via the Curry Club and via kind of some of the coaching stuff that I do, time is quickly running out, as in financial runway is quickly becoming a problem. And this fallacy of waiting for things to go back, or if things just go back, if the market just changed a little bit, then we'll be okay. I think that ticking time bomb is about done, and that bubble's about to pop. So it's either make significant changes to how, not what, but how you do what you do, or this will be the year that you end up speaking to liquidators and having to sit down and take a strong, hard look at every financial decision you made in the last 2-3 years
Yeah.
and kind of reposition who you are and what you do. I've seen
Or
some really
retrenching into a
yeah.
very boutique, entirely owner-led business.
That's right. That's right. And I've seen
Um,
some really good people have to do that, and
mm,
have scaled their businesses right back. I've seen others that never, ever in a million years would you have thought that they would end up winding their businesses up, having to wind their businesses up. And everyone I've spoken to has said the same thing, which is we just didn't change. We just did not change.
yeah.
The market. I'm ex financial services. I had the pleasure of working in retail banking when I was in my early 20s after uni, and I saw it then at the time where the interest rates had dropped from, we were paying out a building society savings rates of 6.5-7% on your savings, and that had dropped down to 0.5%. 0.1, 1%, 1.2%. And we had a lot of people coming in going, no, I won't renew the bond just yet, or no, just leave. It will go back. It will go back. And it didn't. For over a decade, it didn't. And I remember saying at the time, one of our regional managers saying, look, people need to understand that this isn't a temporary blip. This is normality. At what point does temporary become permanent? At what point does, things aren't going back to the way it was? The way it was is how it was. We're now in a different world. And I think that has been the conversation for the last 2 years. Oh, we're not making anywhere near the fees that we're going to. But if we can just get back to that, you can't. You can't.
Mm.
You're not going to pay 35 grand a year and get a 200K biller. You're not. It's not going to happen, right? You are not going to attract the best talent for your business within a 20-mile radius of your office. You're just not. It's not going to happen. So I think this is the headline kind of prediction from my point is that this is the year where either fundamentally change how, not the what, the how, or you will fail. This will be the year that you really feel it.
Okay, right. So some fairly
As morbid
controversial
as that sounds.
statements there, but I have to say, Nitin, I completely feel and I'm experiencing with my clients and other businesses in my network what you describe. What we have is this productivity paradox where, at the moment, money spent does not come back in ROI the way that people are maybe accustomed to measuring it. Yeah. In fact, implementation, which I'd like to come on to in a moment, but implementation is often one of the biggest stumbling blocks for tech. But what we've got here is not just the AI revolution. It is also phenomenal changes in like broader economic headwinds and social expectations of the workplace, plus client buying habits.
Yeah.
And clients are expecting more for less or quicker results, for example. We've got at the same time, because of these economic headwinds, we have in most sectors an absolute glut of candidate applications coming through, but realistically, the only way to deal with them is through some form of automation or AI. And yet, for many of the smaller businesses I know, they felt so strapped for cash that bigger investments or anything that might involve some downtime has been tricky for them. And so what they're doing is saying, yes, we are, AI is part of our strategy. And what they mean is the consultants are using ChatGPT to save themselves 25 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Rather than building it into their systems and processes.
But I think you're absolutely right. I absolutely agree with that. There's pockets of all these different things which in isolation don't seem that big of a deal, but when you then pull them all together, it's changing very fundamentally kind of the market and not just the market for recruitment, but actually the way our businesses and commerce operates in the country. But I think in relation to sort of specifically AI within the recruitment industry, I think we don't hold the suppliers and the rec tech businesses to account enough. And I've been very, very vocal about that in that, you know, making a cute job advert using AI or, allowing me to harass more people at mass is not productive. It is not a solution. It is not a good use of AI. If we know that there is an increase in applications coming through, what does that imply? That implies that there's a pressure out there in the real world, in the country that we live in, that people are either out of work or worried about being out of work, and which is why they're applying at mass for all these jobs. That means that people have got real world pressures, real world stress, and they're worried about their own household income. I expect my RecTech suppliers, I expect my CRM, I expect my outsourced AI enabled tech business that I'm paying per seat for to help me not just find the best candidates from these applications, but actually to treat these people better. How about you can rank these CVs for me in terms of what the AI believes that are better applications, but why then can't it then personally reject those people and just let them know? Just let them know, listen, you're not being considered for this role. Don't hang your hat on this one, Alison. This is not the one that you're going to hear back from. Because unbeknownst to me, Alison's applied for 150 jobs this week because Alison's got a mortgage that she needs to pay and 3 kids that she needs to feed. And Alison's got a lot of stress and pressure, and she might think the job she's applied for, she's perfect for, and therefore is holding off on other things in the hope that this agency gets back to me on this particular job. Now, if Domino's Pizza can tell me where my pizza is and that it's out of the oven, and it's going in the box and it's on the way, my ATS or my CRM should be able to tell my candidate where they are in the process. Alison, you're not being considered for this one. Your CV hasn't even been opened yet. That means there's got a lot of applications to get through. Do you know what? Probably best to move on this one. But instead, what I get is, hey, do you want to harass 50,000 people a month on LinkedIn without flagging to LinkedIn that you're harassing?
Yeah.
Why do I need that? And the businesses that buy this software have got to ask themselves a lot of questions as well, because they're the same ones that will say, oh, we don't take cold calls. They're the same ones that will go, oh, I'll just get harassed by people and my clients don't come back to me and I'm specking CVs out and I don't hear anything. Yeah, of course you don't, because you're harassing people.
Can you put an example of taking a supplier to task with good results in that respect, Nitin?
With good results, no. I've got clients and they are in the rec tech space, and I do have these conversations with their product teams. I have these conversations with the CEOs, and they listen. They do take it on board. They do go, "All right, yeah, no, that's a fair point." I think the problem is when everybody else is being measured against these harassment features. Harassment as a service, I call it. When everybody else is out there going, "Oh, we're an AI-enabled CRM and we can do this and we can do that." There's a pressure on these CEOs and these rec tech businesses to keep up with the trend, and
Mhm.
therefore, if the people selling the products or people creating the products are telling you that, Alison, your business needs this facility, and you start buying into that at mass, recruiters start buying into the fact that they need this outreach tools, then that's what they have to build. They have to kind of go with where the market's going. A lot of them agree. There are some really good use cases of AI to kind of encourage that candidate journey and to be a bit more fair and, that kind of a bit more of an ethical approach. There's a lot more conversation around kind of bias and whether AI should even be used to look at candidate applications,
Mm.
at all. There's no one company I could go, yeah, these guys have got it really, really right. Because I've just
Yeah,
met,
I mean, let's not even begin with the additional layer of AI-enabled applications
yeah.
where we don't know whether a bot has applied for this job
Yeah, and do you know
or
what?
not.
Yeah, that's a completely different argument, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. I had this conversation at IHR. We were podcasting there at one of their events, and we had two of their suppliers who supply into the TA space, around sort of testing and candidates complete these
Mm.
tests, and a lot of the candidates are using AI to pass these assessments, and I was kind of like, is that not good? Is that not like saying I need you to pass this maths test, but you can't use a calculator? Listen, if I say to you, look, I need you to pass this internal IQ test of, you know, it might be a coding test, it might be a situational judgment test or whatever, and the candidates used AI to pass that test. Is that not just where the world's moving to?
I think it highlights weaknesses in some of these tests for
100%. Yeah,
definite.
yeah,
Because frankly, if you're testing IQ, then you deserve you deserve it if you get that. There are other measures, and I've devoted quite a few episodes of this to
mm,
really effective psychometric assessments, both
yeah,
aptitude and attitude.
hmm
Lots of people think they know psychometrics, but they don't. But that's a whole other episode. So let's just go back to the point you were making about buying habits. You were saying, if my LinkedIn profile can do this or my Netflix account can do that, then why can't my CRM do it? And there's another point there, which is that but at both ends of the recruitment equation,
hmm
candidates and clients, there is, in my view, a distinct move in to change buying habits.
hmm
So it used to be, I never thought it was okay, but it used to be okay for recruiters with a great network and visible networks and testimonials to get in touch with people and say, "Hey, I'm the best in the business. You don't have any proof of that, but just trust me. Give me your assignment and
mm,
wait and see what happens. And don't worry, you won't pay if nothing happens."
yeah,
And the whole contingent model has been, it's impossible to undo now, but it has been detrimental to the industry as a whole
yeah,
because there's no commitment required from clients, and increasingly we get less and less. What they are interested in, however, is really good value for money deals that are based on not just hearsay and
hmm
assurances,
yeah,
but methodology. So I spend a lot of my time with businesses I work with, transitioning them from spot, particularly spot perm business,
hmm
into obviously retained. I think we've all been there, tried, and done whatever's possible in your market on that front. But I'm talking about more package deals,
yeah,
and there's a whole spectrum of those, from embedded solutions through to um, you know, call off services,
hmm
through to statement of works provision, full
yeah,
statement of works.
yeah,
And that is where there's a lot of interest now. I felt like Cassandra calling out, saying, this is where people need to be for some time. But
Mhm.
actually, the market is buying it now. Just expanding still on 2026. So you've touched on some of the things that you feel are changing. This whole harassment as a service, I love that phrase, thing has to change.
Mhm.
And people have to find new ways of marketing. And again, there are good examples where automated and AI-led marketing is properly linked to sales.
Yeah.
So, for example, there are a couple of businesses that have previously featured where they identify using intelligence. They identify both likely market destinations for highly placeable candidates
Mhm.
and also those businesses with relevant opportunities that may be coming up or have come up. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the key is really simple. It turned out in one business I knew that giving people this intelligence did not automatically give them the skills to use it effectively. So they were sliding into a business development conversation, often sounding a little bit shifty, when in fact they did have intelligence. That should have been how they were framing their conversation when they did pick up the phone. You know, it should have been the reason I'm calling you is because X, Y, and Z, things they could see the client was doing.
Mhm.
And I can offer A, B, C, things that they could evidence.
That's a professional service. So
Mm,
I've been saying for the last couple of years, and I get a lot of grief for this, and not as much as I used to actually, but I don't believe recruitment is a sales business. I don't think it's a sales business. I think it's a professional service, and if you treat it as a professional service, i.e., akin to a law firm or an accountancy firm, you get the results that a law firm and an accountancy firm gets. I.e., my accountants, I expect them to let me know about tax changes, let me know about R&D stuff that I may be able to claim back on. And hey, they might make some money off that, but it's a benefit to me and therefore a benefit to them, right? They charge for certain services. I expect my law firm to go, hey, we're doing X, Y, and Z for you, but we also noticed that you've got this going on. We have a particular department that could support with that. I expect that. I don't see that as, he's trying to flog me something. When
mm,
your recruitment business leaders are convinced that it's a sales business and nothing else, because they don't know how to do anything else other than be salespeople,
mm,
the staff feel sharky and feel uncomfortable having professional data-led conversations because they don't know anything else. They don't see themselves as a professional service. They don't see themselves as market experts. They just see themselves as KPI driving, ring that sales bell, whoop, 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 made another fee, let's go to Ibiza and celebrate.
mm,
That I think has fed this beast. If you were to go, two of the biggest contributors to the failure of the recruitment industry over the last sort of 2 decades is the sales element, the hyper focus on sales performance and rewarding salespeople with promotions based on their billings and nothing else,
yeah.
alongside then this kind of mantra of stack it and sell it, stack it and sell it, KPI, that kind, and that with then contingent, do it for free, do everything you can for free, and then get block out the other businesses, spec out wherever you can, give things away, salary surveys, spending millions on printing actual things so you just get 10 minutes in an office with a client. All of that kind of has fed into this big contingent model. That the contingency space and the sales model is why we are where we are today.
Mm, mm,
In my experience, not even opinion, my experience, I
yeah.
see and have helped and work with businesses that have gone, we've got clients who like us, trust us, and they're not hiring at the minute, but they still want our advice. They still want our input on stuff. And actually, we could and are in the process of flipping them to subscription models because, hey, outside of our little world, the entire world has moved to subscription models. You
Yeah.
buy your car on a monthly basis. You pay for, like products and services on a monthly basis. So there's no reason why people wouldn't go, hey, do you know what? I've got my law firm on retainer. I've got my accountancy firm on retainer, and I've got a recruitment firm on retainer.
Yeah.
I just pay
But
them.
I want to see something different for it, don't I? Yeah.
That's it, yeah, yeah, and that's not
So
a send
true.
me 5 CVs and every time I'm hiring, that's a, do you know what? You know, there are things that I will unsubscribe to straight away, right? When I'm put onto mailing campaigns and things like that. I don't unsubscribe from where I buy my cigars from. Why? Because they send me every week. Here's our newest selection. Here's some stuff that's on offer. Here's some information that you might want to know. Here's some deals that we've got on humidors. Here's some stuff that we've got going on here, there, and that. I welcome that information. That I don't see that as a top of funnel marketing campaign. I see that as a useful email for me to glance at and go, oh yeah, not for me this week, but maybe next week. And I look forward to those emails. So when I've got a client that's going, do you know what? I'm not hiring, but do let me know if you've interviewed a candidate, or if you've registered a candidate, or if you've come across something that might be appropriate for my business. Do you know what? Send it our way, because we don't want to miss out on it.
Yeah.
That
But
fear,
make it really appropriate, right?
that
Yeah,
fear of missing out is the thing that people worry about.
I
We
agree.
did a live cast when Google had changed their Gmail, and Microsoft have been doing a lot of stuff in the background on emails, right? And we did. I was involved in this conversation, and somebody asked the question, well, so how am I supposed to send information out to 600 clients? And I've gone, and they're trying to come up with ways, and the technical solution to it is to do it this, break it into this, and I just went, what the have you got to send to 600 people that's relevant to 600 people?
Mm.
This is what's wrong with the mentality here. You don't have anything appropriate to send to 600 people. You're a recruiter. If you don't have one candidate that's suitable for 600 people, you don't have one bit of information that you can share to 600 people at one time. You just don't. And if you think you do, you're not a specialist in any stretch of the word,
So I think everything we're saying here is highlighting the importance of ultra personalization in
100%.
all our sales and marketing outreach. And that has got to be an absolute priority now, rather than, as you say, scale of outreach. You also, though, just with that example,
Hmm.
the 600, only to
Yeah.
send it to 600 people. I want to come back, circling back to tech and AI and generational expectations, because this is particularly a theme for younger hires in the
Hmm.
recruitment industry who, frankly, part of their interview process is them interrogating the potential employer about their tech platform, because they clearly do feel very reliant on it. And a lot of them are very wedded to the idea that if I just spray enough stuff out there, something will stick.
Mhm.
Now, of course, these people don't have well-developed networks, so they're looking for a quick substitute very often. And there are lots of ways, and learning and development is a huge theme for the Recruitment Leadership Podcast. But I'd like to just look into that whole business of generational expectations while we're talking about 2026. Because
Mhm.
before we started recording, you were making an observation about how people expect to work. And we weren't entirely in agreement on it,
No,
although
no.
broadly. But perhaps you'd like to share that with the listeners.
I work on the basis with my team, and I think a lot of successful remote businesses have the same mantra, which is I don't tie them to a hourly commitment of work per week. So none of my guys are on 35, 40, 45-hour contracts. They're on deliverability agreements. So effectively, it's here's my expectations of you. Here's what we need as a business. Here's the outcomes, the financial and non-financial outcomes that we need as a business. As long as those things are met, we're in a good place. And therefore, I don't care where you work, how often you work, and what timeframes that works with. You know, amend and mold that to your life and to your lifestyle. Some are parents. I'm a parent. I love taking my kids to school. I love then having breakfast with my mum before I start my working day. So none of my meetings start from 10 o'clock onwards. Why do I get that flexibility but not provide that to my staff? I knock off early 3 days a week to pick up the kids and then take them to the park and do dad stuff with them. If I can do that, my staff should be able to do that. And if that means that in the evening they need to log on because they've got a few bits that they said they'd get done, they need to get done. They've got clients that need to go back to. We have a global economy. I've got clients in Australia. I've got clients out in the US. We've got clients in India. They work at different hours too. And so if my client in India wants to send me a message and an email, they shouldn't have to sit and go, oh, but they're based out in Britain, so we probably won't get a response for really 24 hours. No, like absolutely not. My expectation with the guys is, listen, if you flick your phone open, you see an email from the client in India or from the US, just send them a quick response. Nothing you can do is going to nothing. We're not filing out reports, or we're not having to go. It's literally usually a 3-sentence reply. So do that. Because the exchange that I'm not asking you to put in overtime. I'm not asking you to burn the candle at both ends, because the other side of the exchange is, if you've gone away for a long weekend and you've got a long drive back, don't go home on the Sunday. Leave on the Monday morning and take your time. I don't want you rushing. I used to say to my team when we had the recruitment business in Coventry with staff in Coventry, and I'd get a message from one of the guys saying, like, I'm rushing, I'm running late. I'd always say the same thing. Just get here safely. Don't rush. Don't speed. Don't put your life in danger. Don't put other people's lives in danger. It's just work. It's not that deep, right? You're late. You're late. Who cares? But I had that mentality, but my business partner didn't. And he'd be the one screwing, oh, well, that's not acceptable, blah, blah, blah. And I saw the difference that made in productivity in people. Now, I've got a team that are out in remote. I don't need to say to them, I need you at your desk at this time. There are times where I need to be a bit more strict with them, which is, guys, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm posting, I can see there's nothing happening on the YouTube channel. There's nothing happening in terms of the WhatsApp groups. There's nothing happening in the community groups. What's going on? Like, there are enough tools in place. We're all on Quill. I can see their meetings. I can dip into the transcripts. I can see what's going on with them. We have a very good CRM that I can see what they're doing, their activities. We have a shared calendar. We jump on regular Teams calls. We're constantly WhatsApping each other. I'm aware of what my team are doing, and I don't need to hold them into working hours. I think
Right.
that's the
Okay.
mentality that recruitment business owners in the UK need to employ, because
So a
you
really
are
interesting
losing
bit,
good
because
people to setting up their own businesses.
I don't think anybody would disagree with the scenario you
No.
paint. However, leadership is a meaningless term without context.
Yeah.
And the context of what you're running there is that you have people working in South Africa and possibly elsewhere. So the baseline cost of those people is much lower. They are the freelancers, they're not your employees. And one of the issues that a lot of UK recruitment businesses have is that they still, to a
Mhm.
greater or lesser extent, employ people in the UK.
Yeah.
And they have this problem with employees that they're very expensive now. And they also have these sky high expectations of how much flexibility they
Mhm.
should have. And they also want quite an expensive infrastructure around them to support them, but want to be able to clock off all the time. It's a real challenge, isn't it? So let's move on, because we've talked about some big
Think
themes
that
there.
just
Um,
with that though,
yeah.
Alison, so we had, I had 6 what we call Gen Z staff. I still speak to all of them. They don't speak to my business partner. They all speak to me. There's a reason that some people get the most out of these people and others don't. I think that if you're the kind of person that is buying people's time, i.e., I pay you for 40 hours a week, so you will give me 40 hours a week, you will get that attitude back. If you pay people for their skills, if you are making them feel valued for their skills, and then if you target them based on the things that they're good at, and train them and support them in the things that they're not, but actually, if you build out individual KPIs for the people in your team, you find that the output is a lot better. One of the biggest mistakes we made as a business was we had blanket KPIs for everybody. Why? Because that's what Michael Page did to us, and we were just we were trying to be the mini Michael Pages, right? I had team members that were incredibly good on LinkedIn outreach and messaging. I had people that were really, really good on the phones. I had people that were really good at just sending voice notes and could place a candidate and pick up a job with a client from just voice notes alone, having never met them, having never done anything short of just voice noting back and forth, a few memes, ha ha ha, brilliant, 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 got the fee on board. We never KPI'd them individually. We always had blanket team KPIs. But that way, everybody was at something. And that's that kind of old school mentality. I think that there's a lot that needs to be said about, yes, these guys want flexibility. Yes, they want, a good, sexy tech stack. And yes, they want, to be paid well. But why shouldn't they? Like, at the end of the day, why shouldn't they? Because their mentality, and this is right, their mentality is that I'm making you rich. I'm not getting rich. I'm making you rich. I'm building your SIP. I'm building your wealth. So I need to get something out of this. That's
So
the
there
thing
is,
that our
there
generation
is
got wrong.
definitely a
Our
question of
generation got that wrong.
communication and engagement there, isn't there?
I would argue at least half of the
I'm not
business
going to
owners.
agree with you on this.
No, no, no,
That
and
there's a
look, I
blanket
would argue that
leadership
half the
right
business owners,
approach.
half the business owners that I have that I've dealt with, when I've asked them, so what made you set up? Generally speaking, it was billings related. I made my boss £1 million and I got paid 200k of that, and I wanted some of that for myself. Right? That was most recruitment business owners, motivators that are millennial age, that my generation. That's why we went and set up, because we went, hang on a minute, this math ain't mathing. I made you this much, I got paid this much. Nah, that sounds a bit. The difference is these guys are coming in with that mentality, going, listen, if I'm going to make you this, well, I want to get, I want to be looked after. And if you can't pay me more, which I expect and respect that you can't pay me more, I want some of my time back because my time is valuable to me.
Yeah.
It's a
Of course,
mentality shift.
there has been an increase in people in Gen Zs expressing an interest in self-employment.
Yeah.
The important point is they've got to actually have some skills first. Yeah. So anyway, let's just switch back to the tech focus.
Yeah.
It's about implementation. One of the biggest stumbling blocks that I've seen recruitment industry leaders hit is that they buy a piece of shiny tech after a demo and it looks wonderful and it's going to do things. But then they hit implementation issues where there are many questions and usually layers of problems that are going to stand in their way. At its most basic, you can put the most zippy AI system on top of rubbish data and it will churn out rubbish, right? So data cleansing is like the starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any practical tips for really effective implementation of new rec tools?
Everybody needs to be involved. Even the ones that are going to be using the systems, you need those people involved in that decision-making process in some way. I had a really interesting podcast with a guy called Joe Mahoney, who does sort of change management and stuff. And he always starts off his change management meetings asking a question that his 7-year-old got asked in school once, which was, how do you catch a lion? So when you've got different people who operate in different parts of the business, you've got finance, you've got marketing, you've got the business development team there, and you've got ops there, and you've got compliance all in a room, and you ask them the same question, how do you catch a lion? How are we all going to catch this lion? Everybody has their own angle on how they would catch that lion from their experiences and the things that they've done in life and the things that they know as a result of this will happen. So no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And some might say you use a net. Some might say you use a trap. Some might say you shoot it, whatever. But the point is, oftentimes business owners are left to or give this job responsibility to a ops person who kind of sits up here from a crow's viewpoint and goes, well, I think this is the best way to do it. But everybody's got their own way to catch the lion and everybody's got their own problem and would approach that problem in their own way. Your tech solution has to catch the lion for everybody. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. You've got to get your people involved. And that means
so true.
means getting people out of their day jobs. That means, relying and trusting people to be involved in the decision that you probably deep down feel like isn't really their responsibility, or it doesn't really matter what they think, that's what I want to buy. You've got to, because otherwise you just end up spending all this money on a great system that actually isn't good for your business. I always get asked the same question, what's the best tech out there right now? I don't know. And I say I don't know because I don't know your business. There's a CRM that's perfect for your business that is absolutely dog crap for somebody else.
Yeah. This is absolutely spot on. I agree with you, Nitin. I think that there are too many examples, even in quite small businesses or medium businesses, of CEOs thinking that this is a techie job, a back office job. And so we have, someone who's in IT support designing our customer's journey. And exactly as you say, they're going to design it based on their usual measures of success,
That's
as
right.
in efficiency, reach, etc., etc.,
Mhm.
not effectiveness
That's right.
or
Yeah.
what it does
And
to
compliance are going to
relationship.
say, you can do this, you can't do that. Marketing are going to say, the palettes need to look like this. And actually, we prefer the logo to be this side because continuity and brand continuity is important to us. And then customer services will say, well, actually, we'd like to capture this information because when it comes up on our screen, this is what we need. And sales will say, none of that matters. We just want these three things. And
Yeah.
actually, when it all gets built, it doesn't do any of the things. Marketing aren't happy because the logo's not where it needed to be, and IT aren't happy because they feel like they've been constrained on how to build it, and then compliance aren't. And so it's just a never-ending train. And it's frustrating because actually, so many tech vendors know this, yet will still insist on just dealing with the CEO or the
Mm,
representative of the business,
mm,
i.e., the ops person, rather
mm.
than saying, there's a handful that I can think of that actually go, guys, before we even start this, I want these 6 people in your business on this call. Otherwise, it's not even worth our time. I know Dal Shoker from Naya people incredibly well, and they've just they're going through and just finalized their new CRM. And it's taking a long time, and it has taken a long time. And then, like, a lot of the vendors that were involved in the process were like, God, this guy, man, he wants everything. And like, he got all these different people on the call. And I'm like, yeah, good. Because he's trying to catch the line. He's trying to do it properly.
Mm.
You can't just
Yeah.
flash a set of fancy keys in front of him and he'll start going, ooh, I want it. It's not working, is it?
So
You-
important. And I see so many CEOs walk out of the meeting room where they've had that demo
Yeah.
and go, here you are, guys.
Yeah.
And like they've given them a great gift
I've done it.
and
We've
then
found the next big thing. Yeah. Yeah.
expected to change their business without them changing anything. So yeah, sales and marketing and finance, all of these things, and
Everyone needs to be.
analytics, everything
Yeah.
needs to be involved. Okay. Last question, because unfortunately we've run out of time. Is the whole AI thing a bubble effect or is it real?
Both. AI is absolutely real. It is not going to be one of those things that is going away. Far too much time and money has been spent on infrastructure and development for people to just go, we're not going to do this anymore. But it's no different to when smart TVs became a thing and the word smart TV was a word, and oh yeah, there's a normal TV and you have this smart TV, and then actually eventually every TV is a smart TV, right? That's what's going to happen. AI is just going to be everywhere, whether you like it or lump it, whether you use it or you don't. It's going to be everywhere. Is it a bubble? 110% it's a bubble. In my opinion, I think the similarities are far too similar to the dot-com bubble from a financial perspective, if you look at the investment side of the world. But even if you go even deeper than that into our industry, into our sector, there are businesses still who are charging a premium for what is effectively a GPT in a wrapper, or Claude in a wrapper, or Perplexity
Mm,
in a wrapper. All of these AI companies, Microsoft being the biggest one, are really leaning into enabling us as consumers to be able to use, understand, and therefore have AI be an everyday part of our life. Very similar to, we all remember this, and a lot of people listening will remember this, Windows for Dummies, right? Windows for Dummies, the big thick books, Excel for Dummies, the big thick books. Microsoft lent into the ideology that everybody needs to be able to use this, not just a few people. Well, you don't have a word processor in your business. You have everybody using Microsoft Word. You don't have an Excel specialist in your business. You have everybody using Microsoft Excel. You don't have an AI expert in your business. You will have everybody using AI. And that includes building agents. That includes building little bits and little bots that talk to each other that make your life a little bit easier. And that might be your admin person who actually is sort of like, do you know what? I have to fill this form out and then fill this form out. Actually, I'll just talk to Copilot, build something, and it can do it for me. This is great. There are far too many businesses in our space right now that are selling agentic models at a premium because they can.
right.
That
Because
time is
it's
running
just
out.
a wrapper.
That's it.
So it's a bit like
That bubble will
being dependent on
burst.
going to a travel agent to sit on the other side of a
That's
desk and watch them as they scroll through a screen
that's
of
it.
options
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of finding your own
And so
help.
do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
great. Okay, really good example. Nitin, thank you. That was a
No,
real
thank
high
you.
energy
Appreciate you.
um, podcast and discussion. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that. If people would like to talk to you further about Rectools or your other interests, how should they get in touch with you?
LinkedIn's the easiest one. Drop me a note on LinkedIn. I tend to connect with everybody. Follow the
So
podcast.
that's Nitin with one T,
Yep.
Sharma,
Yep.
at Rectools. So then you can reach out to him via LinkedIn. And for anyone who's interested in exploring the broader area of board advisory and executive coaching work with me, Alison at recruitmentleadership.co.uk. Nitin, thanks so much for being my guest.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you so much. See you soon.
You've been listening to the Recruitment Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, review and share so that others can find the podcast too. We really appreciate your support. If you have any questions about the topics covered or wish to find out more about recruitment leadership, please email alison@recruitmentleadership.co.uk, referencing the podcast. We're also on LinkedIn, where you can follow Recruitment Leadership and connect with Alison Humphries. Thank you for listening, and we hope you join us next time for another episode of the Recruitment Leadership Podcast.